Yes, hello everyone. Falcher Ash, Cúilín Media. Welcome back to another weekend review show here on the channel. Joining myself, Séamus Brady, I have Matthew Hurley, a very happy Matthew Hurley after the weekend with SARS, of course, and then a very humbled Aaron Prendergast wearing the Ballybowden St. Enda's jersey. Lads, it's good to be joined by the pair of yous. Matthew, you had a decent weekend.
Yeah, to be fair, Séamus. Good win for SARS yesterday. Fantastic win again. It's their third county title or second county title in 3 years, and winning the Munster as well last year as well. It's just been a brilliant 3 years in many ways for that group of players, and obviously they absolutely deserve it. They performed brilliantly yesterday against the Middleton side. They deserved to be there yesterday. They were there on merit, and look, the lads were absolutely outstanding. What more could I say about the performance? Absolutely delighted about SARS and everything like that as well. And yeah, absolutely happy about that. And watched a few games on Saturday as well. Obviously, Justice Sachs against Rathmore game, which I thought was a thrilling game, considering the weather conditions and considering Dr. Crokes and all of the Kerry Championship, which should be in for an interesting final there. Dublin final, which I'm sure we will talk about as well. I wasn't particularly impressed with maybe the quality of the game, but Ballybowden did enough to get over the line. Navina just didn't do enough, particularly in the second half in that game at all, and Ballybowden just got over the line because of that. But the Leinster Championship, looking Naas being out, Kilmacud, Coola, Ardee St. Mary's, Dunshaughlin, all of these teams going out. It's going to be a very interesting Leinster Championship this year, and who's to say we might get a win from a so-called smaller county? We'll have to see in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. So, well, our fourth and final member, Liam, throwing in a chat here, says, howdy lads, what a night first. Congrats to Matthew. We'll get that All-Ireland semi-final. I'll be back later in the week. I shall contribute here tonight. Kilcormac, Calahi, Abu, and Peter also leading the charge with the comments. Guys, anybody who is watching live, do get involved in the discussion. Let us know what was your personal highlight and most interesting story from a very busy weekend in the club championships. Peter says, hey lads, massive well done and congratulations to Stars and Kilcormac Calahi. 2 very clinical performances and statements nicely made and filled out for the remainder of the club championship. So lads, a bit of a quiet week in terms of general GAA news. There wasn't too much storylines or headlines. So what we will do is we will dive in. We'll dive back onto the bus and we'll run through the whole weekend. I don't know, the bus concept I quite enjoy. I quite enjoy seeing where your interests lie, what you are going to find interesting from the weekend's action. Friday isn't too packed, the first off. So Friday, Tyrone Senior Football Championship semi-final replay and the Dublin Camogie final were on the Friday. So what we will do is we'll just quickly touch on the Dublin Camogie final because obviously that was a game separate to itself. But we'll remember as well that Loch McCrory beat Carrickmore by a goal and 16 points to 4-6. And then we'll talk about that in combination with the Errigal Kieran factor. Because obviously, Errigal are out, unfortunately, for myself and Liam. But anyway, speaking first, the Dublin Senior Camogie final, that was the first game on the Friday. And St. Vincent's completed their 4 in a row, beating Lucan Sarsfields by 2 goals and 15 points to 2 goals and 4 points. I was on commentary for this one. St. Vincent's were the better team. There's no question about it. Their physicality was absolutely immense. Like their half-back line, especially Emma O'Byrne, a right half-back, was just dominant. And there's no question about it. Their ability to score points in very tough conditions, especially Ashland Mar, that was the massive difference. Lucan were very reliant on the goals that they got to kind of, a knockout blow type to try and keep them in the game. Vincent's, you never doubted they were going to be able to keep getting the scores. So Vincent's worthy Camogie champions, there's no question about it. They're the best Camogie side in Dublin right now. I'll be very interested to see how they go forward. Aaron, as a fellow Dub, and obviously you picked Vincent's to go all the way this year in the All-Ireland. They've won 2 out of the last 3 Leinster championships. Moving forward now, Vincent's 4 in a row Dublin champions. Can they go all the way this time?
I think they can, yeah. Like they have the spine there, they have the makings of it. We've saw what they've done in previous seasons as well. Like they have the experienced players there. Look, there will be obviously some other teams there that will be waiting in the wings to stop them. But no, I stand by that prediction all day long, and I'll stick with it. To be honest, like we saw the dominance of Dublin clubs as well, from the ladies' football to men's football to hurling. I feel like we're missing a Camogie team now to go and break the All Ireland kind of threshold. And yeah, like from I didn't see the game now, but like from kind of reading reports and everything else, like it was very, very dominant from what I seen. And yeah, massive win for Vincent's, in fairness.
There's no question about it. I think it would go under the radar. I know we're the capital and everything like that, but what an achievement it would be for Dublin Gaelic Games if we were to have, an All-Ireland hurling club winning team, an All-Ireland football club winning team, an All-Ireland LGFA club winning team. If Kilmacud Crokes can kick on and do it against Kilkerran Clonbyrne, and what if St. Vincent's could also go all the way in the Camogie? It could be one hell of an achievement if they are to pull it off. There's no question Vincent's, their experience came into it here. And going on now into the Leinster Championship, they are probably their toughest challenge is going to be Dicksboro, the side that they lost to in that Leinster final a couple of years ago. But they obviously are the Leinster champions. They just have to go that step further and get to an All-Ireland final and get over the line, which for what would be their first ever All-Ireland Camogie Championship. Matthew, what have you made of them so far? Obviously, they have to be taken seriously as All-Ireland contenders because they've been there, in the Final Four over the last 2 out of the last 3 seasons. But can they break through that glass ceiling this time around?
Yeah, look, Aaron, I didn't see the game, to be honest with you, with Vincent's on Friday night, but from what I'm hearing, Emma Byrne, Ashton Marr, they are superb players in the Dublin Camogie team, and the fact of the matter is St. Vincent's do have them, and you have to consider them as favourites. Because of that, obviously Dicksboro beat Piltown in the Kilkenny final, which we'll get onto, and they will be tough opponents, no doubt about it. You look at other counties, I suppose, all up the Bala, I think, are still in the Leinster Championship coming out of Wexford. I know they probably don't have Ursula Jacob right now, but they do have a good conveyor belt to the likes of Ainish Curran in that team. So it is going to be a difficult Leinster Championship, but Vincent's have proven time and time again that they are definitely up there in terms of winning All Ireland. So I think that the main kind of hurdle after Dicksboro and potentially out of the Bala is probably Sarsfield's out of Connacht. They are a very, very good side. They've proven it over the last few seasons. You look at Lockheed up in Antrim as well, have the Roisin McCormicks at this world are absolutely excellent as well. And who knows in Munster, you have Turles Sarsfields coming out of there. You have De La Salle with the likes of Beck Carton in the team, St. Finbars with the talent that they have, the Callans, etc. So it is still going to be a tough ask for Vincent's to go all the way and win the All-Ireland. But considering the players that they do have, the inter-county experience there, you definitely back them to go far into the competition. I'm not sure will they get over Sarsfields now. Galway, the Galway champions are very, very good. Well, they might not be the Galway champions. We'll have to see in the next few weeks. But they will be tough if Vincent's are to come up against them. So still a tough ask to win the All-Ireland, but Vincent's certainly at the talent.
Absolutely. So, and best of luck to them genuinely from another Dublin club. It would be great to have Dublin teams being successful in the club championship from here on out. And the other game then on the Friday was the Tyrone Senior Football Championship semi-final replay. Obviously, the championship was shook when Errigal Kieran were knocked out. Obviously, the reigning champions in Tyrone. The curse continued. And bizarrely, still no team has gone back-to-back in the Tyrone Championship since 2005. Myself and Liam probably in hindsight should have looked at the curse. And Matthew, you called it out basically in that predictions video. But anyway, Trillick were the team to continue the curse, beating Errigal in that semi-final, qualifying for the final. The other side between Lough and Carrickmore went to a replay, and eventually it is Lough who come through by a goal in 16 to 4 goals and 6 points. And when you look at the talent that these guys have, like the likes of Owen McElhone, like they have to be taken serious as well in terms of a coming force in the Tyrone Championship. Matthew, I'll go to you for this one first.
Not even just Owen McElhone, but Rory McCullough as well, who's the top scorer for Tyrone overall in the under-20 championship. They do have some excellent young players, and it is, from what I'm hearing, it's their first ever appearance in the Tyrone final in the next few weeks against Trillick. And going by what the club championship has offered over the last few weeks, with Sean O'Leary's Newbridge, Knockio, Shlotney and Watty Graham's Glen going out, and all these sides going, Cargan and Antrim, of course, to Dunloy winning their first championship in 89 years. I won back against Lough McCrory beating Trillick. I honestly wouldn't. We had this kind of situation last year where we had, Watty Graham's Lane and Derry. They beat Shlotney, they beat the nearest challengers. Okay, they're going to go ahead and win the Derry Championship now. And then Sean O'Leary's Newbridge just rock up at Celtic Park and beat Watty Graham's Lane. And the whole championship then is wide open. And I feel like this is a similar enough ambush, I think, from Lough McCrory if they do go on and win the Tyrone Championship. Trillick are being talked about at the moment, and rightly so. They do have some fantastic players, and they do have the I suppose the emotional valve as well with them, obviously with the loss of Jody Gormley last year, obviously an untimely passing there, but. And you do have that with Trillick, but Lot McCrory have a lot of young players. They have exuberance in that team, and I won back against them winning the Tyrone Championship at all. And going by what the Ulster Championship, other than Kilcoo and Down, which we'll get onto in a bit, there has been shocks all over the place. And I won back against Lot McCrory, causing another shock in the Tyrone final this year. And yeah, if they were to beat Trillick, that would throw the Ulster Championship and indeed the All Ireland wide open.
Certainly would. Jordan Cairns here says, hello there, Jordan Cairns here from Mayo in Castlebar. Brilliant final between Westport and Ballina. Already looking forward to Saturday's replay. Only 1-3 will be in it. 1 to 3 points will be in it. Very close game now, but certainly. And we'll move on to Saturday's games and we'll discuss them as we go. But because we're now jumping into the more, there's more stack in these games, what we are going to do is we are going to jump on the bus, but I feel like we're going to stop at the first stop because reading through Matthew's results as he's compiled them here, fair play to you again, Matthew. The first stop on the list, which Matthew has stats available for, fair play again, Matthew. Ballybowden St. Enda's 116, Nafina 112. Ballybowden St. Enda's win their 5th Dublin Senior Football Championship, beating Nafina in tough conditions at Parnell Park. Cian Darcy's goal obviously standing out, but fantastic displays from the likes of Alex Gavin and Colin Pascal and Darius Sweeney leading from the front. And Ballybowden St. Enda's are the Dublin champions for the first time since 2019. Aaron, what did you make of this one?
Yeah, I'd agree with Matthew a little bit earlier. It definitely wasn't the best game. Look, conditions definitely did play its part. There's no question about it. The first half was very even. There was very little between both teams. I was looking at Matthew's stats even that he uploaded on Twitter at halftime. And when you actually read through them, they were very, very even across the board. Very, very little between both teams. I think, it was just the second half, really. You were kind of watching it and you were thinking, does either side actually want to go and win this game? Because it was very kind of back and forth. Ballybowden started better. Nafina had that really good spell where they kind of went 7 to 4 points up. Brian O'Leary was playing brilliantly, in fairness. But then in the second half, Ballybowden just got a stranglehold of the game, and it seemed to kind of happen after the 2-pointer from Peter Healy. That seemed to kind of be the turning point, really. And he, for that kind of, there was a 15-20 minute spell where Ballybowden just kept on turning Nafina over. Nafina couldn't win anything from their own kickouts. They were just being strangled around the middle, really. Cian Darcy was outstanding, gets himself a goal. Colin Pascal, brilliant. Ross McGarry, I thought, was very good as well, even though he didn't score. I thought he was linking up to play brilliantly and everything else. And then Nafina kind of I think they must have went about 30-40 minutes nearly without scoring, from when they got their 7th point up until their 8th point. And it did look like they had a bit of a win in the first half, and they probably didn't utilize that in the same way that kind of Bowden utilized it in the second half. So very, very dominant victory by Bowden. I know Nafina kind of pulled it back a little bit towards the end with the Keelan Sexton penalty rebound and everything else. But it was I see Liam's comment there in the comments saying a bit disappointed by Nafina. I'd agree with that as well. I was expecting a little bit more from them, to be honest with you. Look, they've had an incredible year from where they came from at the start of the championship, beating Ballymun, beating Crokes. But I think they will be, they've lost a good couple of finals now, unfortunately, over the last 5 years.
Yeah, they had a good year in total, because I think at the beginning of the year, beginning of the Dublin Championship, I wouldn't have had them down as a team that I thought were realistic in terms of winning it. And I'm being brutal there in how I phrased it. But the only teams that I looked at the beginning of the Dublin Championship and thought, I can see them winning it, is Coola, Kilmacud and Ballybowden. They were the only three that I thought, I genuinely think that the days of Ballymun winning it with that current crop, I think they're gone now. Vincent's were not on it at all this year. They lost all 3 of their group games. Unfortunately, my club as well, I wouldn't have said that. I would have been surprised if we had gone all the way and won it, even though we had a great year too. Just in Dublin now, the step between that group, which is your Ballymuns, your Lukens, your Rahenies, I would throw Nafina in there, Vincent's, Whitehall, Thomas Davis, the step between everybody that's in there that is a very solid Senior 1 team or Senior A team, and then that next three of Kilmacud, Coola, Ballybowden, right now, they are next level. And the thing is that if you look before Coola and Ballybowden and Crokes got to the semi-finals, nobody laid a finger on them. Like, no one laid a finger. Like, they literally blitzed through everybody. And it was a very, very incredible performance and result by Nafina when they turned over Kilmacud. Because, again, as you said, I did not see that coming because of how poor Nafina looked in the first game against Bowden. And I know that they'd beaten Ballymun, but I would have thought they were very evenly matched going into that game. But I would have thought Crokes would have been gearing up for another crack at an All-Ireland run, like, genuinely. So, really, really interesting to see how it develops. But now with Bowden winning, it will be really, really interesting to see. Matthew, I'll throw this question to you because it's coming in from Gavin O'Reilly here. He says, what's the ceiling for Ballybowden? Do you think I would have said Leinster because Naas are more experienced? But of course, now Naas are gone too.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting question because not just Naas, but already St. Mary's are gone out of load. You look at Dundalk are gone out of Meath, even Rathote, who you consider may cause a shock here or there, are out. St. Lomans from Westmeath out of the competition. Port Arlington struggling in Laois to get over Courtwood, with the greatest respect to Courtwood, obviously, but struggling there. Broad are out in Offaly. I know Tullamore, the coming team there, but like that is another kind of big gun out of the competition. Like even Carlow, you have to, like, I know that's the results we'll get on to later, but Old Leckland winning the Carlow Championship, like, it's just Leinster counties in the Championship this year has been utterly nuts. I think, look, for Ballybowden, I think you have to say winning an Leinster has to be their ceiling. Then in the semi-final, it will be the Munster. It will be the Munster team after that. And do I think they'll have enough to get over an Austin Stacks or a Dingle or a St. Finbarr's, potentially Nemo? Judged by that performance, no. But obviously, you've seen him more than me. I've only seen him on that performance against Nafina. I wasn't really impressed. But as I mentioned there, it might have been tough conditions, but we'll have to see there. But I know we're kind of we're going further into the chat here, but Austin Stacks, we're going to that game next. But Austin Stacks were very, very impressive. And I think on that performance, Austin Stacks would blitz Ballybowden, I'll be honest with you.
Blitz?
Yeah, I think so. When you look at the Austin Stacks, the middle third that they have is absolutely outstanding. And if they get over Dingle and Kerry, I think they're a serious, serious team. I think St. Finbarr's won't necessarily blitz Ballybowden, but I think they could beat them. But that again, that's down to the Bars' kind of mentality getting over Nemo, which we'll see next week. They haven't done so in the past, but we'll have to see if they do that next week. But for Ballybowden, like, I think the ceiling is an All-Ireland semi-final, genuinely. If they don't win Leinster with the teams that are out now, it's a bit of a surprise. But genuinely, lads, I wouldn't be shocked if a Tullamore or the Downs from Westmeath win it, because they kind of are kind of experienced at this level now. The Downs have played Kilmacud over the last few years. They have Luke Loughlin in their team. Tullamore tested Coola all the way last year as well. I wouldn't be shocked if either of them go all the way, but knowing Gordon, now they'll lose in Westmeath and Offaly next week. But we'll have to see about that. But anyway, I wasn't really, just long story short, I wasn't really impressed with Ballybowden on Saturday evening. But obviously opinions can change. Like, Coola got over good over test, not really playing well either last year, and they went on and won the All-Ireland. So it could be kind of a situation like that. We'll have to see in the next few weeks, but right now I probably wouldn't be as impressed with Ballybowden as many people.
I don't know if I agree with that, to be honest, because if you look back at last season, like, a lot of people were saying, you know, Coola, now that Coola have beaten Kilmacud Crokes, this is the golden opportunity. And you know, Coola were seen as slight underdogs against Naas, and then they beat Naas. And then they were seen as beatable by Tullamore, and they beat it wasn't Tullamore side that they beat, but RD in the Leinster final. Oh, this is a golden chance for RD to win it. Right now in Leinster, in the Leinster Club Championship, and maybe I'll get a bit of hate for saying this, and Liam, if you want to disagree, again, please feel free to do so. But maybe it's a bit of Dublin arrogance, but I think if you're going off history now, or especially over the last 5 years, whoever comes out of the Dublin Championship is usually the favourites to win the Leinster Championship as well. Like, it's, if you were to be honest now, how many of the county champions from around Leinster would be any of the three of Kilmacud, Coola, Bowden? Like, how many? If we're being brutally honest, if Kilmacud, Bowden or Coola got out, any of them three, you have to put them as favourites for Leinster. Because of the fact that when Bowden got out of Dublin last time, they won Leinster in 2019. And then they fell short in the semi-final, yes. But the time before that, when they won Dublin, 2015, they won the All-Ireland. Like, and in that team, you had the Pascal brothers. You have a lot of inter-county experience. Alex Gavin, Shane Clayton. On top of that, Keane Darcy. Like, this is a very, very stacked Ballybowden team. And I've said from the get-go that they've won Leinster, and the time where I thought they could get caught is... I feel like, when you see a runner now, like, when you see a runner at the Olympics and they look back and they know that they're nearly home. Like, I feel like Bowden they've got through what I would say is the toughest challenge. Not that this isn't going to be tough. This is going to be very fucking tough to win Leinster. Take Kilmacud losing to Mullinachta in 2018. But I think it's tougher to get out of the Dublin Championship. And I think, like Liam says it here, he says, this is why I don't want to be writing off Ballybowden, because I didn't think Coola would win Leinster last year. I felt Naas would win, and then they shocked me. I'm being a bit too harsh. I'm very open to being like that. I'm wrong here. But what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you, to be honest with you. Like, I do think, like, yeah, I think if you're judging off the basis of the Saturday night, then yeah, I can understand why people wouldn't be too hyped up about Bowden. But when you actually look through their year,
they fucking hockeyed everyone, and then they beat Coola.
Yeah, and like they scored 323 was it against Coola or something like that? Yeah, like that's a big tally, like that they knocked up. And I know it was a weird game because they were actually behind for almost the entire game. And it was just at the end they kind of snatched it, but like they beat Nafina by 17 earlier in the groups as well. I think they should win Leinster. I think if they don't win Leinster, there would have to be questions asked, to be honest. In terms of how to knock, because like I think the Downs are probably the one team I would look at and think they can maybe do it. With Luke Loughlin kind of there and everything else, but yeah, I think Bowden should have enough. I haven't really watched Austin Stacks, to be honest with you, so I can't really comment too much on them. And then like obviously the teams who come through Cork are always very strong. When it comes to when it gets to that kind of stage. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I definitely think there is the potential for an All-Ireland final. I think they can push out a final. And again, it's like you're looking at who's coming through Ulster, who's coming through Connacht, like an all, like it is wide open. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it could shape up in a similar way to last year, because again, nobody would have said Coola to win the All-Ireland last year, because nobody was saying Coola to win Dublin. And the reality is that the championship just kept following that pattern of who had traditionally been the teams that were always there. Now we're no longer there. Like your Currafins weren't there. Your Glens that had been there over the last couple of years, your Kilcoos, none of them were there. And it was wide open then. And you had a Final Four of teams that actually hadn't been there for quite a while. Like Coolera Strandhill winning Connacht. Like fucking no one saw that coming. And the thing is that it would be difficult to say. I'm not saying much that I put them as favourites for the All-Ireland now, Bowden. I didn't pick them to win the All-Ireland at the start, because I think that they had a great team in 2019. Like they still had Michael Darmacaulay and Conal Keeney and all, and they didn't go all the way that time. But that being said, at that time you had it was Currafin, like Currafin with the champions. Like it was very, very difficult at that time. And I think the final, correct me if I'm wrong, but the final of that year was Currafin and Kilcoo. Who did they lose to? Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Ballybowden lost to Kilcoo, I remember. Okay. And Nemo lost to Currafin.
But Kilcoo, like, I mean, it's a pretty good team to lose to. I just, like Peter says here, the year of the dark horses in the club football All-Ireland. I do agree with that I wouldn't be surprised. I'd put it this way. I wouldn't be stunned. I'd be surprised if Bowden don't win Leinster, but I wouldn't be absolutely gobsmacked. And I think the time to catch them, Aaron, I do agree, and I agree with Liam's comment. I think the time to catch them is in a provincial ground in a semi-final on a tough day, like what Mullinachta did to Kilmacud Crokes, where you just catch them in the long grass. I think if it gets to a Leinster final in Croke Park, good luck. You're not winning that one, because I do think Bowden will be in their home patch basically. But I don't know. It'll be really, really, really interesting to see. Gavin says a counterpoint would be, I don't know how likely it is for two different Dublin teams to scrape through Leinster twice in a row, but for Bowden this year, they're not the only new Leinster team. That's a really, really good point. And the thing is, right, is Aaron, us watching Ballybowden over the last 2 years, the thing that has been different about them this season is they haven't had that performance that they have had over the last 2 years where they turn up and just play shite. They've had that over the last few years in Dublin where they've just not turned up. They haven't had that yet. Maybe they'll have that in Leinster. Like maybe that's still to come. And maybe Tullamore will beat them surprisingly easy. Like it just, the thing is that we just don't know. Like, we absolutely just don't know. Peter says, in the intermediate Leinster, keep an eye out for Salons. They hammered Larry's in Kildare's final. Cara and Alan Wood have won Leinster previously. Alan Wood, of course, home to the great Johnny Doyle. We are going to move on to the Kerry Senior Football Championship semi-final. And Matthew, I'm predicting you're going to stop the bus right here because the stats are available. Austin Stacks 116, Rathmore 19. One of the teams that you're tipping to take very seriously. And just out of interest now, because I know that you've said Salthill Knocknacarra to win the All-Ireland. They are still in the championship. Your pick is the last one standing. How crazy it is that that's already the case. But if Salthill Knocknacarra are not to do it, are Austin Stacks the team that you fancy to be the ones to stop them?
We certainly think there's a chance. I've seen Stacks now, I've seen Stacks team sheet before the semi-final against Rathmore the other day, and I looked at it and said, okay, these are young players, they're raw, they have a lot of quality in this team, including the likes of Joe Connor on the middle and the likes of Paddy Lane and Daniel Kirby and these players. But then I've seen them against Rathmore, really, really impressed with them. Like, their running game around the middle third, absolutely exceptional. Joe Connor scored 1-4 the last different play from midfield. Absolutely superb. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. If David Clifford wasn't around, Joe Connor would be footballer of the year, hands down. He's an absolutely incredible footballer, and he's been delivering for Austin Stacks for a few years now. But you look at throughout Stacks' team now, and goalie of Michael Tansley, who was the under-20 goalkeeper with Kerry, very impressive, I thought. The full back line, you don't have Dylan Casey there now. Dylan's travelling at the moment, according to the lads at Clubber from Kerry. But if he was to come back from his travels, that would be a superb guy to come in, potentially for later on down the line. In the half-back line, centre-back, this guy, you have to watch him, Armin Heinrich. He was on the Kerry panel. Very, very good player. He's well able for a 2-pointer. He got a 2-pointer the last day against Rathmore as well. An excellent player. Ronan Shanahan as captain. The midfield, this is why I think they're better than Ballybowden at this present moment in time, if they get over Dingle, obviously, in the Kerry Championship. You have Joe Connor and AFL-bound Ben Murphy in midfield. That's tasty. You know, that is absolutely really, really good midfield. You have Daniel Kirby at wing forward, who has played midfield for Kerry in under-20, so that's another guy that could drop in and around the middle as well. You have Paddy Lane and Jordan Kazan up front as well. What I'm hearing, Paddy Lane's the top scorer currently in the Kerry Championship. Doesn't surprise me. I know he's 19 years of age, but he has delivered in schools level. He's delivered for Kerry at underage and minor and under-20 over the last few years. If David Clifford is just, an anomaly. He's an absolutely superb player. But another forward to watch in the next few years is this guy, Paddy Lane. Absolutely brilliant footballer. And he definitely is one to watch, in my opinion. Jordan Gassan played underage for Kerry down through the years as well. Another guy to watch. And added to that, you look at Austin Stacks' bench. They brought out the likes of Greg Horan, who played alongside Joe Connor midfield when they got to the Munster finals, played St. Finbars. He's now on the bench because of his injury problems and things like that over the last few years. Brilliant stuff to come on. Joey Nagel, part of the Kerry panel over the last few years, was on the bench the other day, brought him on. He could easily start the next few days. The thing is, for Austin Stacks, though, they're facing we'll get on to Dingle's result in a sec, but they're facing a decent Dingle team in the final. And Dingle will be hungry for a Kerry football championship. I don't think Dingle have won a championship in Kerry. I know there's a club they've won, but they haven't won the county championship since the 1920s. So they'll be desperate to go on and win it. Stocks are very, very good though. They dominated Ratmore really in the second half, and Ratmore got a goal, but by then the game was overdone. But it was finished. But Stocks, they're raw. They have a good team there, and they're also managed by Darragh Long, who was the joint manager of Kerry LGFA team that won the All Ireland. This Stocks team is serious. I think they're a very, very good side, but all will depend on next week's game against Dingle. It is going to be a tight game in the Kerry final, but from what I've seen of Stocks and the look at their team right now, I think this is a superb team. Look, just a word on Ratmore. They had a very good season. They beat East Kerry and they blitzed East Kerry, let's be honest, 121 to 9 points. And you were expected them to put up much more test. And maybe some people would be saying, oh, Ratmore didn't turn up. But Austin Stocks didn't allow them to turn up. They were superb on Saturday, and I'm really, really impressed with them. And if they get over Kerry, there's a serious chance they win Munster this season.
Could we call them Austin Stacked?
Yeah,
no, it's very impressive when you rattle it off like that, no question about it. And the rest of Ireland definitely need to watch out for this. We're going to jump back on the bus, lads, and feel free to hit the stop button whenever you want, or anyone in the comments, if you want us to zone in on any game in particular, just drop it in the comment section from now. We have a good, healthy number watching, but any game in particular, if you want to highlight it, and we will dissect it, or any questions that you have for us about the weekend or opinions on anything, drop it in the live chat down below. So starting off, we have the Galway Senior Hurling Championship semi-final. St. Thomas's 4-18, Crockwell 19 points. And then in the other semi-final, Loughrea beat Sherlockmore 117 to 15 points. So very interesting Galway final there. St. Thomas's 100%. You have to take into account the dominant force there in Galway. Loughrea obviously took the crown last year and became Galway champions. Be very interesting to see, does the Empire strike back in Galway? Aidan Sands is requesting that we talk about Carryduff versus Kilcoo. So jumping a little bit forward in the results to Sunday's results, the Down Senior Football Championship final. Aaron, it made sense when you were talking about it in terms of Kilcoo, the way that they're getting to the Down final, but you did give it a parenthesis of it's Kilcoo. They always seem to find a way. They always seem to pull it out when they need to. Again, another Down final, and they've just found a way to win again.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm from looking at reports and everything else, like, it was very, very comfortable from what I've seen. And look, you have to give them a huge amount of credit because, like, it is so impressive for Kilcoo. Like 13 titles in 14 years, like it's extraordinary, really. Like 7 in a row. They'd done a 6 in a row previous to being stopped. Before they nearly did 7 in a row a good couple of years ago. So it's incredible, really, for them. Like, you feel a little bit sorry for Carryduff a little bit for not getting over the line. It's their second final. It's the second time in 5 years that they've lost in the final. But like, very impressive stuff from a Kilcoo perspective. Like Ryan Johnson with 2 points, Paul Devlin with 1-3, Jerome Johnson with 2 points as well, Sheelan Johnson with a point as well. So yeah, very impressive stuff from a Kilcoo perspective. And you know what, lads, like, I think Kilcoo are definitely there. They're in the mix, especially with a lot of teams having been knocked out and everything else. I think Kilcoo are going under the radar a little bit. And I think they're definitely in the conversation, I think.
I think they have to be. I think, like, when you're talking about recent club dynasties, especially, like, Kilcoo stand out there. Like, you're talking there, Aaron, they won 6 in a row, then lost the title. Then they've come back and they've won 7 in a row. It's just absolute dominance over the championship. And the thing is, as well, is that this isn't the first time where you kind of sensed, oh, maybe there might be an upset on the cards here. Maybe somebody might be about to knock them off their throne. Like, I mean, last year you were looking at Byrne and you're thinking, Danny McGill, Ryan McGill, Oran Murdoch, like, they have a very, very good team. And Kilcoo just dominated the final and showed no sign of letting up on their dominance in the championship. And this year, again, just a relatively straightforward final win after, they had struggled to get to the final. It's like once they get to the showpiece event, they just stick their chest out and they know how to get over the line from there. And Matthew, when it comes to dominance, you very rarely see it to the level that Kilcoo have got it to now.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm seeing Aidan Sands comment there about how the Guinness brothers were just knocked out of the game altogether, and the Brannigans played very, very well. And that is an encouraging comment from a Kilcoo point of view. Again, I only went through reports and stuff like that, and just absolutely outstanding from a Kilcoo perspective. Superb in many ways.
How do you see them going forward? How do you see them? Kilcoo, obviously, their days in terms of getting to the All-Ireland stages, Glenn obviously beat them in the Ulster Championship and kind of took that role for a while. And then Errigo Kieran obviously made it to the final last year. But Kilcoo had a great period of getting to the All-Ireland final, semi-finals, stuff like that. Can they get back there this time?
Potentially so. Just bring up the Ulster draw there. Kilcoo play against the Tyrone champions, actually, Trillick Orlott McCrory in O'Neill's Healy Park on November 8th or 9th. So that's going to be a big game. You'd imagine if Trillick come through that's one game to whet the appetite, isn't it? Absolutely. So a lot of people talk about Trillick in terms of the All-Ireland. A lot of people kind of forget about Kilcoo. We talk about All-Ireland, including ourselves. I will mention it, ourselves, because a lot of people have mentioned in the comments saying, why you downgrading Kilcoo? Kilcoo are an outstanding team. And they do this every time. Like Aaron mentions Carrie Duff the other night, then Kilcoo roll all over them. I mentioned Scottstown last year to win Ulster. Kilcoo absolutely blitzed them last year to smithereens in the Ulster semi-final. They seem to do this every single time. Like Kilcoo, you have to give them a lot of credit for that. And you said it before, Séamus, good teams, or great teams in a way, always find a way to win. But Kilcoo were finding a way to win easily in many ways. Even when Carrie Duff were talked about by many people during the week, they still beat them easily. Even Burren last year, Burren didn't get a sniff in the town final. And Burren had the likes of the McGills and all these fantastic players in the town senior football team as well. So, I think, look, if they get past the Ulster quarterfinal, whoever it may be, Trillick or Loch McCrory, you certainly have to take them seriously for an All-Ireland, no doubt about that. Look at the draw there. They face either Kings Court Stars, Derry Gondy Hearts, or Orangay's Bleak in the semi-final. So if you get past the Tyrone champions there, you'd imagine, with the greatest respect to those three clubs, you'd imagine Kilcoo will get to the final. And then you could face a Scottstown, potentially St. Pat's Cullyhanna, maybe Sean O'Leary's Newbridge, and you definitely have to fancy Kilcoo in that final as well. So I think if you get past the Tyrone champions, sky's the limit, really.
Yeah, definitely. You would be brave to write them off. Aidan says here, Kilcoo are an aging team with very little underage players coming through. At this point, talking to Kilcoo people, they plan to peak at the Ulster Championship, which shows from the final. I mean, that's a good way to put it. But on top of that, just to add on to your point, Matthew, I seen this famous quote about Ferguson's United. I can't remember exactly who said it, but there was a great quote about Ferguson's Man United when they were winning all the Premier Leagues, and it said, just being called Manchester United got them 12 points a season. And it was because teams playing against them would just make mistakes. And I think on top of that, teams that have played Kilcoo in the down final just haven't played to the level that they're capable of. Burren last year, you mentioned it, the McGill brothers, Oran Murdoch, and they just never got going in the final. And how many teams have we seen in Down and in Ulster, like we saw with Scottstown last year? They come in and on paper you're looking at it thinking, they've got they got this guy, they got this guy, and they just don't get going. So Kilcoo obviously do have a certain presence that it is intimidating to play against them. They've had such a grip on the Down Championship that it really feels like you have to rip the crown out of their hands. And there's no doubt about it, they're clearly a difficult team to dethrone, and it'll be very, very interesting to see now going into the Ulster Championship, can they reclaim what they once had in terms of winning Ulster medals and potentially kick it on to win another All-Ireland? Because obviously they did it under Mickey Moore and after falling short the year before to Currafin, and I've no doubt with the crop that they have right now, they will want to win more than just one All-Ireland. It's very similar to Ballygunner in the hurling, that all these county titles are great and you have such dominance, but they will want more All-Irelands for the period of dominance that they have, more Ulsters for the period of dominance that they're currently experiencing, because as Aidan said there in the comments, it will end. It has to end. They don't have that same level coming through that they once had. An example in Dublin is, Vincent's cleaned up in the 2010s, and all of a sudden, once the talent dried up and Mossy Quinn and Diarmuid Connolly and players like that retired, all of a sudden they're relegated. So there is no doubt, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen to Kilcoo necessarily, but they need to, while the talent is here, while they have this squad, they need to make hay. And there's no doubt in the Down Championship they are. Now it's just about converting it into Ulster success and further All-Ireland success. Strike while the iron's hot. It'll be very interesting to see. Question directly for you, Matthew. Liam Sheehy says, does Matthew think Cork's intermediate and junior teams will beat Kerry's representatives on Gaeltacht and Ballymac this year?
Interesting question. The junior champions is going to be either St. Nick's, who are the counterparts to Glen Rovers in the hurling. Glen Rovers are the hurling club, St. Nick's are the football club. Both of them are the other finalists there. Interestingly, on the St. Nick's team, you have Owen Downey and Rob Downey playing for them. So, interesting to see them with the football. But yeah, I think St. Nick's, both of them, they put up some good scores this year for what I'm seeing in the Premier Junior Championship, but would they beat Ballymacgalligan? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. With Gaeltacht, it's quite an interesting one because you have two very good intermediate finalists in Cork in the Premier Intermediate grade. You have Ahabulloch, who have a lot of good players. Their star player is actually playing a lot of soccer in Luke Casey. Plays a multitude of sports. So he's definitely one to watch. But Eve Lera have Chris Oak-Jones in their team. And Chris Oak-Jones in the third tier of Cork football is almost like having David Clifford for Fossa. He's scoring everything for them literally, and he's the top scorer in nearly every facet. So I think Eve Lera potentially have the capabilities of beating Gaeltacht, potentially. It's interesting as well. Gaeltacht have Aidan Walsh, a former Cork player, All-Ireland winner, of course. So be interesting kind of dynamic there. But I think it's an interesting question. I think Eve Lera would be definitely Nick's, possibly in Premier Junior, but it remains to be seen.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that. What happened?
The internet went, lads. Yeah.
All right. No problem. Matthew, that question's for you from Peter. Are St. Nick's a Cork City team near the Glen?
They are the Glen. It's like Sarsfield's the hurling team, Glanmire the football team, and vice versa. It's the same. Literally, St. Nick's is the football equivalent to Glen Rovers.
Absolutely. Gavin there with a very good point about Jordan Morris. Obviously, his addition to King's Court definitely is one to take serious if they get out of Cavan. And then Gavin also says, as a Rossi, this feels like a massive chance for either Pearses or Bridget's who play next week along with Kilcoo. There are very few experienced teams left. And that's the other thing, is like it's looking very similar to last year's championship, where you could get into a Final Four and it's just like, it reminds me of like almost a 2010 championship, like where you had Down and Kildare playing in the semi-final, and you would never pick that at the beginning of that year. Ziel's the cool. Greetings from Mexico, my friends. So the Cúilín Media up in Mexico. Ziel, it's great to have you on the show with us once again. Peter says, is Conor Laverty still playing for Kilcoo? And Aidan says, yes, he came on as a substitute last night. We're going to jump back on the bus and run through the rest of the games. So in Fermanagh, Derry Donnelly Harps and Erringale's Belique Drew. So that one obviously going to a replay in the football final. And then moving to Tipperary's semi-final, Kilsheelan and Kilcash beat Lockmore Castellani 114-2-9. We're stopping the bus here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For a multitude of reasons. First of all, brilliant for Kilsheelan and Kilcash, beating Lockmore Castellani. That's a superb victory. I see Clubber last minute 2-pointer to win the game. I don't know if you see the lads on social media. Absolutely superb score from near the sideline. I'm not exactly sure the name of the guy, but absolutely superb score. Kilsheelan and Kilcash did provide quite the shock in seeing off Lockmore Castellani, and it does prove how difficult it is to do the double. I think Aero Guinness are the only team left that can do a provincial double, and they did it in the county, so fair play to them for that. And that feeds on to Naas, obviously, as well. But another reason why I stopped the bus here is just paying tribute to Finny Ryan, the Tipperary goalkeeper, the Tipperary senior football manager. This season, it's shocking. 56 years of age. It's way too soon. And obviously, condolences to all at the Clonmel Commercials Club. Obviously, their semi-final against Upper Church Strumban on the Sunday was postponed, and obviously rightly so, to let Clonmel commercials grieve and things like that, and look, like it's just an absolutely colossal loss to the club. It's a colossal loss to Tipperary football. He was a Tipperary goalkeeper from 1990 to 2003 and was gaining a bit of a reputation, doing well with Tipperary in football. You know, Tipperary was in a downward spiral really over the last few years, but Philly Ryan really got them back up at the horse in many ways. Like they beat Watford this year, and they were close enough to a Munster final. They tested clear at periods in Ennis as well, and they did relatively well at some stages this season. And Tipperary football hopefully will be back up at a pedestal in the next few years. But it's a sad loss, sad news over the weekend, and obviously rest in peace to Philly. Ariyesh Degra and condolences to his family, his friends, and to everybody in the Clonmel Commercials GAA Club and Tipperary football.
Yeah, well said, man. I saw the message, Peter, and the plan was to round up the episode and to just leave it on that note. But yeah, well said, Matthew. Just want to also express my deepest condolences to Philly Ryan, to his family, to his friends, and to anybody affected by this tragic pass, and obviously way too soon. And Ariyesh Degra.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, same here as well. Now, yeah, pass over the condolences and everything else. Like tragically sad, like, and especially a county that has had lots of tragedy. Very sadly over the last kind of 10 years or so with the passing of Dylan Quirky. Obviously, had Liam Kearns as well, who was involved with Tipperary for many of a year. So, pass on my condolences to his family, friends, and rest in peace.
Absolutely. So we are going to now continue with the action from the championships. We're going to move a very short journey from Tip across to Waterford. In their semi-final, Denier beat Gaultier by 10 points to 9. And sticking in Munster, the senior LGFA quarter-final saw Comera Rangers beat Éire Óg from Cork. A superb game going to extra time, but Comera won by a goal and 12 to 2 goals and 5. So, Aaron, your prediction is still on there. The Kilkenny Senior Camogie Final, Dixborough 114, Pilltown 12 points. So my All-Ireland pick are also still alive in the Camogie Championship. The Tipperary Senior Camogie Final was an absolute goal fest. Thurles Sarsfields beating Clonulty Russmore by 5 goals and 11 points to 4 goals and 10. Thurles Sars, of course, Karen Kennedy and the like in their ranks. They're a dark horse, in my opinion. The Clare Senior Camogie Final saw Ina Kilnamona beat Trua Clonlara 214 to 114 after extra time. The Down Senior Camogie Final saw Clonduff beat St. Pat's Portaferry by 115 to 10 points. The Armagh Senior Camogie Final saw Crossmaglen Rangers beat Grainmore by 213 to 114, while in Cavan's Senior Camogie Final, Lacken beat Den by 2-7 to 9 points. In the Meath Senior Camogie Final, Nafina beat Kilmessan by 15 points to 10, while in the Roscommon Senior Camogie Final, St. Dominic's beat Oran by 1-7 to 2-3. In the Munster Senior B LGFA quarterfinals, Glanmire from Cork beat Cahir from Tipperary 2-12 to 2-8, while in the Gael against Monaghy has an unknown scoreline. Interesting. But how on earth has that been the case? In the Leinster Intermediate LGFA quarterfinals, Screen from Meath beat Killenarin of Wexford by 1-9 to 1-7. Kilo from Longford beat Éire Óg, Greystones of Wicklow by 6-17 to 2 points. Incredible win there for Kilo. Ballymena from Kildare beat Great Cullen from Laois by 4-8 to 14 points, while St. Feckin's beat Goldsmiths of Westmeath by a goal and 7 to 4 points. And in the Ulster Intermediate LGFA preliminary quarterfinal, Knockbride from Cavan beat Carryduff from Down by 2-15 to a goal and 4. The Leinster Junior LGFA quarterfinals, Muckalee of Kilkenny beat St. Martin's of Wexford by 5-11 to 8 points. So Gaelic football actually getting a win. St. Columkills of Meath beating Old Leckland of Carlow by 5-15 to 2 points. Raheny of Dublin beating Dromard of Longford by 2-5 to 2-4 in an arm wrestle of a game. Kileshin beat AGB of Wicklow by a goal and 11 to a goal and 5. In the Ulster Junior LGFA preliminary quarter-final, Claudia of Derry beat O'Donovan Rossa of Antrim after extra time by a point, 11 points to a goal and 7. While in Connacht's Junior LGFA quarter-final, Swinford Killasser of Mayo, 3-14, Anna Duff from Leitrim, 7 points. And this is where like the bus lights kind of go off, driver gets off, another driver gets on, and then the lights come back on. And we are about to kick right into Sunday's results. Now, Matthew, we are going to stop the bus here. I'm not going to press you too much in terms of tactics and everything like that. But the Cork Premier Senior Hurling Championship final, Sarsfield's 2-18, Middleton a goal and 14. Obviously, you're involved yourself in the background there at SARS. But just in general, the celebrations, an amazing day for Sarsfield's. Two Cork titles now in 3 years, along with the Munster Championship of last season. I'd say it was a good celebration.
Yeah, fantastic, and it was just fantastic for the lads to win this championship, and the manner of the win as well. It was just a brilliant to get over the line in terms of the win, and delighted as well for James Sweeney, who got the 2 goals. Obviously the goal to seal it at the end, and James is an absolutely brilliant player for Sars down through the years as well. Jack O'Connor got the man of the match for Marty as well, and Jack has been absolutely incredible this season. The likes of Danny Hogan performed very well. In the full back line, he had a lot of players in the Sars team actually. Johnny Crowley mentioned in RT, a lot of players actually played their first Cork final. The likes of Donald English, the likes of Ben Graham, the likes of Barry O'Flynn, who's still 18 years of age, which is absolutely incredible. He's a real fine. He's a really good player. Played minor for Cork last season, and he's an absolutely excellent forward, and definitely one to watch in the next few years. It was just brilliant for the lads to get over the line, and obviously another Munster campaign now for the lads. And look, Johnny Crowley, Dermot O'Sullivan, Joe Barry, everybody in the background, they've done an absolutely incredible job at SARS. And it was just a brilliant win to get now yesterday, and had to get over the line against Middleton. They did well to get to the final, beating Blackrock and beating Glen Rovers along the way. But look, it just wasn't their day, unfortunately for them. But look, it was just a brilliant win for SARS to get over the line. And yeah, moving on to Munster now, where it's the Piercing or Ballygunner in the semi-final for SARS. So it should be an interesting game there as well. So yeah, absolutely brilliant, and brilliant to get over the line as well. And at SARS did it without a lot of key players as well. A lot of players have gone travelling, or a lot of players are injured. Unfortunately, Colin McCarthy missed the final. He was injured earlier on in the Cork campaign, which is obviously disappointing for him. And then you look at the lads that have gone abroad. The likes of Aaron Myers isn't around this year. He's gone abroad. Paul Leopold's gone abroad as well. You have a lot of players there as well. So to win the county championship the way they did without those players, they deserve a lot of credit, and fantastic to get over the line. And absolutely delighted for the lads more than anything. They're lads that do well out on the pitch, and yeah, absolutely brilliant. Thrilled for them.
Absolutely well said. Aaron, when you're looking at obviously the journey that SARS made last year, getting all the way, taking out Ballygunner, which is one of the results of the club championship, to see Shane O'Regan stick away that 2-3 off the bench. When you're losing a final, SARS have come back now and they've won the Cork Championship, something that, finalists in other codes, as we've seen with Errigal, haven't managed to do. It's extremely difficult to come back and do what SARS have just done. So there's no doubt, as Liam put it there, they'll take some stopping in Munster now.
100%, yeah, and I think they're in the mix. Like they're maybe calling them dark horses is maybe even disrespectful in some ways, because they should be considered as one of the top dogs, definitely. Like Munster will be tough. You've got some great teams in there, and the Piercing are going to take some beating. You've obviously got Ballygunner, as we mentioned previously. So look, it's not going to be easy for SARS going into Munster and potentially beyond that. But I think for now, really, it's just about celebrating and enjoying the win. And it was very, very dominant against Middleton. Like, never really looked in doubt. Led 1-9 to 1-3 at half time. As Matthew was saying, like Jack O'Connor with 5 points, Jabe Sweeney with 2 goals. Like, there was one moment in the second half where Middleton brought it down to 4, and you were thinking, okay, maybe they might be able to kind of make this a little bit kind of nervy towards the end. But to be fair to SARS, the way they saw the game out as well was very impressive. Obviously, getting that goal at the end with the kind of icing on the cake. So, yeah, they're definitely in the mix. They're definitely in the conversation. And you certainly wouldn't want to be coming up against them. I think it will be interesting if they do get that matchup against Ballygunner. I'm not too sure what way the draw is in terms of where they could play them. But I think that'll be very interesting, because I think like almost everyone had Ballygunner as favourites last year. I predicted SARS to win on TikTok, mainly just for the crack, to be honest with you, to wind a few people up. But yeah, like, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Ballygunner do, if that game happens again, because you feel like Ballygunner really dropped the ball that day, and it'd be very interesting to see that game again.
Yeah, no, that would be a matchup for the ages. I mean, in terms of, because Ballygunner were picked by everyone to go into the, win Munster and go into the All-Ireland. I actually last minute pivoted and picked SARS. Yeah, my quick picks. Remember where I was just pointing at the board? And just last minute, I don't know why, I just had a feeling. I was like, because I looked at the age profile of the team that they were likely to put out. And I was like, eventually a team at that age, you have to have a game where somebody puts you to the side. But I didn't think SARS would do it in as a dramatic a way as they did with O'Regan off the bench. Like, it really felt like the walls that were caving in on Ballygunner when that second goal went in. But you're looking at how Ballygunner have restocked. Patrick Fitzgerald has become so important. You have Cormac Spain, coming through the ranks. It's really interesting. And then the players that have done it for them time and time again aren't showing any sign of slowing down. So it's like a rematch there will be a cracking contest. Matthew, obviously you've seen the question from Peter, how many titles SARS have now? It must be fairly high.
It's actually 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's six since 2007.
Right. So it's just, this has been a golden period for the club.
Yeah. Very much so. It was a golden period from 2008 really to 2014, and then there was kind of a lull maybe a bit, and then obviously Johnny, the lads came in, and it's been absolutely brilliant ever since then as well. Worth noting as well, out of them 6 titles, you have Craig Leahy there, you have Conor O'Sullivan, and you have Daniel Garney, all winning 6 titles.
It's crazy.
It's exceptional stuff, and those players deserve a lot of credit as well for the longevity in many ways as well, and they're absolutely super lads as well.
It's crazy. It's similar in like when you seen that Ballybowden winning there at the weekend was only their 5th Dublin championship. It surprises you. You're like, how many? And then you realize just Vincent's have won like 30. That's kind of why nobody else really has any. On top of that, Peter says here, I think Hoggy will be poached by the Sunday game next year. He did great on the coverage yesterday. I think he's a natural fit, isn't he? I mean, like the amount of work that Hoggy has done with the brands and everything over the years, he's not likely to come out with any type of shit that Joe Brolly came out with on his own podcast there, which we won't talk about too much. But I don't think Hoggy would be the type to put his foot in his mouth the way that Brolly did in that. Anyway, we will move on. Tying in also at this stop is the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship, because Aaron, you mentioned it about Napirsig. Napirsig beat Doon after extra time, 2 goals and 25 points to 218. They recapture the Limerick title. Another pick for provincial winners falls by the wayside. Doon are gone, poor Liam. But you can see why he picked them. I mean, my God, it was a cracking final. And the Napirsig just had too much in extra time.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very brilliant result from an Napirsig perspective to get over the line. Didn't see too much of the game, but from reading reports and everything, it looked like it was an absolute cracker. In fairness, between both of the two sides. Ronan Lynch with 3 points, Peter Casey with 3 points, Adrian Breen with 1-2. From an Napirsig perspective, seeing Liam's comment there, absolutely huge for them to get over the line. Fair play to Doon though, they did give this a good crack. I think a lot of people thought Napirsig would be far too strong, would probably win this a little bit more comfortably. But geez, no, Doon gave it a fairly good goal. Like Adam English, 10 points from him. Dean Coleman with 1-2. So an absolute cracker in fairness. And when you look at Napirsig, I think that might be 6 titles in the last 8 years now or something like that. So they're very, very dominant in Limerick. And whatever about SARS and Ballygunner being in the mix, Napirsig are definitely there as well.
No, there's no question about it. They do have to be taken serious going down the line. You look at the talent throughout the team. And then the question of the mettle in the side, going to extra time and winning it. That's the test of, you're really going to the well. And Napirsig have done that over the years. And you look at the players in there, like the Will O'Donoghues and everything, who in my opinion have been the backbone of Limerick's success. Because I truly think, and I've said it on multiple pods, but I really think that Will O'Donoghue is like the Roy Keane of that Limerick team, that you can talk about the magicians around him, but I think he's always been the enforcer, the ball winner, the primary one who sets the tone around that middle for the Limerick team. And I think if you were to take him out, I think a lot of that success would go away. Similar to Roy Keane at Manchester United when he was there. Liam says, thanks for the comprehensive answer. Great show, lads. Only for you. Appreciate that, Liam, a lot. And appreciate the comments, everybody getting involved, helping to make the show what it is. Jack Nulty says, and Gaeltacht still strong enough. And then Liam says, no, to be fair, it was a cracker of a game and it came to small margins. And look, there is no question in my mind, when Liam made his case, I almost was regretting not going for Doon. Like when you look at the players that they have, like the Adam Englishes and the Pat Ryans and Darrow Donovan, like it just made sense why you would go with them. But the age profile of the side is really, really good. And there's no question about it. They will be back. And there's more Limerick championships to have in this team. We're going to jump back on the bus now. The Derry Senior Football Championship final saw Sean O'Leary Newbridges beat Maher Felt by a goal and 17 points to a goal and 15. So they've quietly put 2 titles back to back there. The Mayo Senior Football Championship final will go to a replay as Ballina, Stephenites and Westport draw 115 to 18 points. And Matthew's hit the stop button. Matthew, take it away. A replay needed in Mayo.
Yeah, exactly. You're just on the game, first of all. From what I was hearing, it was a brilliant battle. And what I'm hearing as well, Lee Keegan and Padraig O'Hora went off in the first few minutes because they battled for one ball. And both of them were forced off injured. Look, it tells you the commitment.
For better deal.
Yeah.
I'd be fucking delighted if I was Ballina. Lee Keegan going off. O'Hora's great.
Like,
but I mean,
there's your Ramos job or something, is it?
Like O'Hora is a great player, but Lee Keegan's one of the best wing backs I've ever seen.
He was playing midfield apparently for Westport. Looking at the program anyway. So yeah, he was. But Lee Keegan can play anywhere. Let's be honest.
He'd still start for Mayo. He'd still get back into that Mayo.
I think he would. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would as well. Look, it seemed like a brilliant game of football, and it seemed like 2 evenly matched sides, and they'll go at each other in Mayo once again. And I suppose the old age question from Mayo: can their clubs do well in Connacht? They haven't done so over the last few years. Obviously, Ballina have had the crack at the whip over the last few years and haven't managed to get it over the line in Connacht. I think a lot of Mayo fans have looked towards their champions and think we need to do well at the provincials, but that's for another day, I suppose. But it is going to be a replay in this one, and it ties into the Limerick final as well, this game, and it ties into the finals that were draws over the weekend. This was a bit of discussion on social media over the weekend. Finals going to replays or extra time. I don't know what your thoughts of it, lads. Look, I think personally, a final has to go to a replay. You know, there's too much effort being put in. It's a draw on the day. You kind of have to go to a replay after that. If you go to extra time, I mean, Liam's prediction for one thing would have still been alive in the Limerick final there with Doon in the Piercing. But at the same time as well, like from what I was hearing, it was 2:17 apiece after normal time. Doon only scored 1 point in extra time. They were clearly absolutely wrecked when it came to extra time. And there was that kind of thing as well where you give it all up to the 60 minutes and then you have to go again in the next 20 minutes. And it's just, I think it's very, very harsh in a final. Maybe in a semi-final or a quarter-final, it's fair enough. And maybe in a provincial campaign or an All-Ireland campaign, it's fine enough because the Alliance League is around the corner. But in terms of county titles, I mean, it has to go to a replay, doesn't it? When you look at the finals there, a lot of people were complaining about penalties and things like that. No, people are complaining about replays. I've seen one tweet saying that a replay is not a viable option. Finals should be extra time. A lot of people have differing opinions on it. Be interested to hear your thoughts, lads.
Well, we had this chat there, I think in the previous week. Aaron, I put the clip together of yourself and Liam talking about it. So that's why I felt like I was on that episode. I wasn't. It was the two of you that were chatting about it. And I agreed with your take on it, Aaron, that I would be happy with extra time. I've been there in the ground, especially the Dublin hurling final between Nafina and Crokes, that epic one, but when it went to extra time and Ronan Hayes turned into prime Seamus Callanan. Extra time was amazing in that game. But I agree that I wouldn't want to see it decided by penalties, and so does Aidan Sands here. Aidan says, I'd say extra time and then replay. Penalties shouldn't decide a final. That was your take as well, wasn't it, Aaron?
Yeah, no, that's it. You've kind of hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, no, I think yeah, extra time I think is fair. To be honest with you, I know like what Matthew was saying that one team can be sort of depleted in extra time and everything else, but at the same time, both teams are going into extra time in the same scenario, haven't played 60 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of is up to one team to get over it. Like it was kind of similar in the Donegal final where Guido kind of fell apart in extra time, and Niamh Connell just wiped the floor with them, having been behind for the majority of the game in normal time. But no, yeah, I think extra time and then a replay. Maybe you could make a case if it was a second, in the replay, and then that goes to extra time and it's level, maybe then penalties, because I know you do need to move games along and everything else. So potentially could look at a penalty shootout then. I would still be pushing for a replay even then, to be honest with you, if possible. But yeah, I think for finals, semi-finals, quarterfinals, maybe you could look towards penalties just because you would want these games to kind of move along. But no, I think the county finals, having them being decided on penalties feels very harsh.
It does, because it doesn't feel like a very GAA type thing. It still feels very rushed. It feels like, look, we just need to get this over with. I think it depends what stage you're at as well. I think, but again, you can't really set that out. I would love if every county kind of had the same thing, because again, we're talking about how the championship is moving along, and it's just my personal preference as somebody who works in the media, who's covering the games, is it's really hard to keep track of where everybody's at, especially in the first few weeks. It's really hard to go, okay, some championships are wrapped up by the start of August, and then some are only getting going in September, and all of it, the different structures and everything like that. And some teams have a group stage that goes straight into a semi-final, and some championships like Tyrone start with the last 16 and go straight knockout to the final. Like, it's really difficult to keep track of it all. But I think if we were to lay down the gauntlet and go, this is the structure, this is the number of teams, and then this is the policy when it comes to finals, that we have extra time, but then it can go to a replay, I think people would agree with that. And the other thing is, as well as like Peter said, Aidan is given an example here of a potential option. It'd be interesting how you take it. Why is a sudden death not more talked about? Next point seems like an easy concept to me. A sudden death point, like the thing that I've thought about, which I find interesting when you're talking about a sudden death point, is I think that feels more GAA style. But I could imagine this. Let's say if there was a game, because you remember Italy, South Korea, obviously most 1 year old, but like 2002 World Cup, Italy, South Korea, and there were some seriously dodgy decisions given against the Italians in that game. And then South Korea won by a golden goal. And if you had a few dodgy decisions given against you and you lost thanks to a sudden death score, you'd be fucked off. Like, you'd be so, we've had this snatched from us. Like, and so I don't know. I think I would prefer that to a penalty shootout.
The thing is,
you haven't seen it work in other sports. Peter says, remember the games you played as kids? Next score wins. Didn't the FRC consider that golden score? I think they were going to call it.
Yeah, but the thing is there's two scenarios in my head that would be very, very difficult for a side to lose. What if a player, which is very possible in extra time, what if the defender pulls up and the forward gets a yard of the defender, puts it over the bar, and that's the winning score? That's very, very harsh in my opinion. Another thing as well, if one side has the wind advantage, a side will win the advantage, which is very possible in winter conditions.
That's true. I think you have to flip for that. Then I think you have to flip for that.
But would that make it more complicated?
That would almost decide it then, and do you know what I mean? It'd actually be more important to. Yeah, I don't know. I think as well, it would just feel a bit like all the players coming out for start of extra time, and like I feel like golden goal worked well, like in soccer, because it's a low scoring sport. Do you know what I mean? So the goals don't happen all the time. Do you know what I mean? Or they're certainly not supposed to anyway. Whereas in Gaelic football or hurling, like it is quite a high scoring sport, and I think we would have scenarios where 2-3 minutes into extra time, then the game's over, and it would just feel a little bit silly in some regards. I think as well there would also be a lot of dark arts and messing around, and And actually, I could also see it going the other way as well, where we could have 8-9 minutes going by with no points, because there would be so much on the line, and it'd be so cagey. So, I'm not too sure if that would work.
I guarantee it, though. I guarantee if they implemented that score, I guarantee at a club game they'd play like golden score, and then some ref would give some bullshit decision for like a 13-yard free, and then you'd be chased out the ground. You'd be all over socials again.
That's the thing as well. Like, that's the thing,
Yeah, I think you have to always consider it, because we called this from the get-go with the new rules, that they made the game better. They saved the game. Thanks to the F4C, thanks to Jim Gavin, everything like that, for saving Gaelic football. But we knew from the get-go that there was going to be problems with the 2-pointers in the club game, because while it's one thing having the 40-meter arc pristine on like a pitch like Porky Grieve or Semple Stadium, or not St. Tiernach's Park for the Ulster final. It's a whole different ball game for like just a club pitch where it's a volunteer putting the thing out, like, and then whether you're inside or outside the arc. And the other thing as well, just the standard of umpire is unbelievable. Like, I was on commentary for the Dublin Camogie final. Ash Maher took a free, and it was wide, clear as day. And the umpire didn't even hesitate. He went straight for the flag. And like, the thing is at that point, the game was relatively even. Now, Vincent's went on to win easy. But I remember thinking, as I was commentating in real time, I was like, if Luke can lose this game by a point, there would be fucking murder about this. Like, I was thinking, because it was so obviously wide. And when you saw the replay, you were like, how on earth was that given? And how on earth did none of the Lucan players kick up about it? But I don't know. So the point is, in club games, more mistakes can be made. And that was my main issue with the club game. I remember I proposed at the time that we need to have the rules implemented at county level, but not really implemented at club level, because you need to make reffing a club game very easy, not very difficult. And I feel like with the new rules, it became a hell of a lot more difficult. And Gavin says, yeah, that happened with Limerick Wexford this year with the hooter. It just went on for 10 minutes before Limerick got the winner. You have problems with sudden death. I think the hooter should have I would say a limit on the hooter is a quick fix for that. That the first hooter goes, but then it has a max of 5 minutes. And if the second hooter goes, well, then it's done. But then guarantee what would happen is someone would kick it on the hooter. and
they would go over the bar or something.
Like it would have to be a buzzer beater type. And he said, Séamus, agree. Some umpires need Specsavers. I'll show you, lads. I'll get the clip up for you when we're off the air. It's pretty funny. Aidan says that incident in Fermanagh with the 2-pointers was a good example of it. Obviously, we had the incident as well with Slough-Neil up in Derry too. So we've had a few examples of it already in just the first year of the club championships, and the county finals aren't even finished yet. So moving in then to the rest of the games, obviously we already spoke about the Down Senior Football Championship final. The other Kerry semi-final saw Dingle beat Mid-Kerry 116 to 16 points. So that's me and Liam's prediction for Munster out the window. So that's great. Dr. Cokes are gone. The Kildare Senior Football Championship final, we are going to stop the bus here. Yeah. Aaron, take it away. I mean, Nace's dynasty in the Kildare Football Championship has come to an end. Athy beating them by a goal and 17 points to 18 points. Huge win.
Yeah, incredible, really. Like when you look at Nace's kind of stranglehold that they have about football and hurling, for them to have been beaten like this is definitely a big shock, a big surprise. I think a lot of people, maybe after watching the Dublin final on Saturday, were kind of thinking, geez, Nace might have a chance here at Leinster, and then they go out the next day and lose themselves. And yeah, like it was an interesting game. Like they led at 8 points to 4 early on. They were actually kind of in cruise control, and it was looking like they were going to be fairly, win this game kind of fairly comfortably. But it was really Barry Kelly's goal, which very much kind of turned the tide, and Athy kind of really dominated after that. Barry Kelly himself scored 1-3. Noel Kelly with 6 points. Kevin Feely was outstanding as well, in and around the middle. And yeah, disappointment for Nace. Look, Ryan Sinky finished with 5 points. Alex Byrne kicked a couple of brilliant 2-pointers. Actually, as well, like Alex Byrne kicked a 2-pointer a brilliant 2-pointer in stoppage time, and then a minute later, Ryan Sinky had an effort at a 2-pointer as well, which narrowly went wide. If that had gone over, to have scored back-to-back 2-pointers in literally the last minute of injury time would have been incredible to kind of send themselves to extra time or a replay and everything else. Gavin says there, Philly McMahon masterclass. I said to you lads, like, you know, like Philly McMahon, this was a difficult one for him because like he kind of like he was just expected to win with Naas. Naas were just expected to win the Kildare Football Championship. Anything less than that was going to be a failure, really, given how strong Naas have been. So yeah, like just a bit of a disappointment, obviously, from his perspective. We'll see what happens. Is he going to still be there next year? We'll have to wait and see. And I think it is worth mentioning as well some of the, you know, celebrations and chants that were directed towards him by a certain pocket of Athy players and fans was obviously completely out of line. I think we'd all kind of agree with that. But yeah, massive shock. But look, congratulations to Athy, a huge win.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well, there's nothing that loses your fans quicker than being sore winners. Like, and if they won the Kildare Championship, fair play to you lads. Just like leave it there. Like don't
like bringing poverty into all this crack. Like it's just you just
bang
really
out of order. You don't really know the geopolitics, do you, and the history of Ballymun and the reason, like the underfunding and everything like that. So to just go and be really disrespectful. I hope they get knocked out in the next round now after that. So like, I mean, fair play, you won the Kildare final, but to have no class after the game, like, just again, like, I mean, like, I know that I don't agree with certain things that Philly did on the pitch as a player. I think he crossed the line a couple of times in terms of like the eye gouge on Kieran Donaghy in the 2015 final. I don't agree that people should play the game like that. Like, people talk about, being a hard man. There was nothing hard about that. That's just dirty. But Athy have not covered themselves in glory here at all. Going at where he's from, like saying the things that they were saying about Philly McMahon and where he's from and everything like that. Very, very disrespectful, no class. They haven't covered themselves in glory at all. Fantastic achievement winning the Kildare Championship. But I'm not rooting for them going forward after that. And saying here as well, Peter says Philly was hammered by Woolley too.
Who isn't?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Woolley, but he hasn't gone after us, and he's been on my pod, and he was on with me and Luke, I think 3 years ago now. He's very nice to us. So, well, maybe it's in the pipeline for us one day, lads. Hopefully not, because he's a big audience. We be getting it. Matthew, your thoughts on the Kildare final? Athy beating Naas?
Yeah, fantastic win for Athy, and he has blown the Leinster Championship wide open. As one of the comments said there, you look at Naas being out, Ardley St Mary's, St Lomans, all of these sides that you might consider that have a shock in them in the Leinster Championship, all out of Championship. And it's quite ironic. Woolley actually put out a tweet after the Dublin final, Vienna, that Naas potentially this is their championship to win, provided they get past the tie. And lo and behold, they don't. They lose the next day. And it's the club. Look, comedy aside, look, it is the club championship. That's the nature of it. It's the nature of the beast. It is a difficult thing to do. Like, even to do, like we were discussing during the week, Naas doing a 5 in a row double. How difficult is it? How would you consider that a superb achievement? Well, it would have been a superb achievement, we know now, because like it is a very, very hard thing to do. Look, you have to give Athy a lot of credit for winning the game, and as Aaron said, a lot of players there, the likes of Doyle Kelly and the likes of Kevin Feely in particular, they do have some good players, and they will be a threat in Leinster. But yeah, I agree with your thoughts, and the Athy kind of fan base and the players as well. Look, you just don't do that kind of thing. I know Cork did that thing against Limerick as well. It's just when you get caught on camera like that, it doesn't look good. It really doesn't. And look, hopefully Athy get brilliant. They won the Kildare Championship, but hopefully they get their just desserts
But the thing is even like with the Cork chant about Limerick, when they were chanting, or like what was it? It was why won't Limerick fuck off home or something like that, wasn't it? That was the one. I was like, you know what? They're locked in a pub and they're singing something that's like a general football chant. I wouldn't have been as offended by that as what the Athy players were saying, what the fans were saying, in terms of like, it was so personal, like what they were saying. That like it was like you can throw any football team or any GAA team or basketball team or any sports team into that chant that the Cork players were saying. But like the stuff the Athy players were saying was very personal, like very, like they were going at where Philly was from, his background, and that's bang out of order. So like I think that was way worse, in my opinion. But that's I'll get off the soapbox now, rant over, and we will jump back into the championship. And anybody, again, just want to parenthesis with this: it's not the entire club. It's not the entire club of Athy. Obviously, there is great people involved in every GAA club, and there's obviously going to be people involved in Athy who will be disappointed by what some of their players have said and what some of their fans have said. So I don't condemn the club of Athy. I disagree with the people who said what they said and what they said, but I don't condemn the entire club. And it's one of those where sport, and here's the other thing as well, I wouldn't be on that train of like, oh, they should face punishment for what they said. No, they shouldn't. Cool.
No, I wouldn't go
that far at all. They shouldn't, and I wouldn't be the type that would moan and like call for action against them. I'm just like, they are to me now. Do you know when like a boxing champion has the belt? Like, you know, for example, when Colby Covington was going to fight Leon Edwards, and then he said that shit about Leon's dad, and I was like, right, now I hope you get your ass whooped. Like that is what I'm thinking. I'm hoping that you lose your next game. I don't hope that the GAA do anything about it, which they won't, and rightfully so. But I don't wish them further success in this Leinster Championship. And I think but maybe they'll play the bad guy. Who knows? Maybe the next team they play against, they'll start singing songs about where that manager's from or wherever. But be interesting to see. Diving back in then to the championships, obviously the next part, I feel like we're going to have to stop the bus right here. It's a shame that Liam isn't with us. He's probably hanging out his arse after this one. But Kilcormac Callaghy 124, Shinrone 214. Kilcormac made a perfect start to this game. Shinrone made a bit of a comeback, and then Kilcormac held off the storm and won the Offaly Senior Hurling Championship. Matthew, when you're looking at the players that Kilcormac have, the age profile, this could be a hell of a dynasty, and they've won the Offaly Championship again.
Yeah, it's a brilliant win for them. And at halftime, we were thinking, okay, Liam's going to be very, very happy. In the next few weeks, like that was an exceptional first half display. And then Shinrone started to come back into the game. Killian Sampson starts playing his stuff, and then you're thinking, okay, we might be in for a shock here. But to be fair, isn't it kind of a compliment that these sides like Kilcormac Callaghy and like other clubs across the weekend, they managed the game brilliantly, even when the underdog started to throw something back at them. Like, you have to give Kilcormac Callaghy a lot of credit for that. They were the favourites for the Offaly Championship, and rightly so from the very off. A lot of people, including ourselves, would have said Kilcormac Callaghy will win the Leinster Championship. I think you and Liam both said Kilcormac Callaghy. I said Kilcormac Callaghy as well will win the Leinster Championship. So, like, it's like we did kind of expect them to win the Offaly Championship. Like, they are very, very good. So it's Charlie Mitchell, obviously the screen, he's like, when you've Adam Screen in the team, it's almost like a cheat code. He's an absolutely superb player. What we have been saying about Adam Screening over the last few years, he's a fantastic hurler and he has fantastic qualities. He just needs to bulk up a bit. And I'm sure, and I think Liam would probably agree with this as well, he is improving on that kind of element of his game as well, which is a good thing to see, because we want to see the best players at the best of their ability. And I'm sure Adam Screening will be in the next few seasons. Like Colin Spain there as well. Like, they do have some very, very good players, Kilcormac. And I'm sure Liam's absolutely delighted about it. But the Leinster Championship, I think, would they have felt they left one behind them as Navina last year, considering like they performed pretty well in Croke Park. They just didn't get over the line that day. But I feel like this might be their time, Kilcormac Callaghy, to get over the line. They have a young team, but I feel like they are really set for Leinster this year when you look at the performances they have been giving. When you look at the sides that they have beat as well, they beat Ballymere, they beat Durrow, Ballymere, Durrow, the same club, and they beat Burr, and they beat Shinrone as well. So they've beaten the best that Offaly kind of has to offer. So that's kind of compliment to them as well. So look, fair play to Kilcormac Cloughy. Enjoy the celebrations, and I'm sure they'll be eyeing Leinster this season too.
I think Liam has enjoyed the celebrations, because just to me saying he could be hanging, he said, "You're dead right. I'd be a menace if I was on." Fair play. Rest up, Liam. But he also says Charlie Mitchell was unbelievable. Damien Kilmartin in the middle had the best game of his season. Daniel Hand, fantastic at wing forward. James Mahan and Jordan Quinn, excellent at the back. So happy. I mean, this is the golden era for Kilcormac Cloughy, and I think they're also at the dawn of it, Aaron, because when we look at, as I mentioned there before I threw it to Matthew, the age profile of the players, the quality is only going to get better, in my opinion. And you look at it, I personally think you're looking at who could come out of O'Loughlin Gales. So Liam says O'Loughlin Gales be tough, or Ballyhale be tough, but I'm also really excited for it. I think then Nafina are probably the favourites to come out of Dublin. And then you could have, depending on who gets out, between Castletown and Loughlin Gales in Westmeath. But I think Clough-Ballacolla potentially could be tricky as well. They have proven tricky in the past, obviously beating Kilmacud. But I think Nafina, whoever comes out of Kilkenny and Kilcormac, for me, are the favourites to win Leinster. And I've tipped Kilcormac, but do you think they can overturn Ballyhale?
I think they've got a serious chance, to be honest with you. Like when you look at it, it's kind of two teams that you feel like are kind of at the opposite end of the spectrum a little bit. Like Ballyhale are the team that's been there, that's done it. They do have some younger players within their ranks, Ballyhale, obviously in recent years, who've kind of broke through. But you know, it is the more experienced hurlers of your TJ Reeds and, you know, your Colin Fennellys and Joey Holdens and these lads who've obviously been there and done it for a long, long time. Whereas Kilcormac are more the up-and-coming team, as you said, with the likes of Adam Screeney, Jack Screeney, Charlie Mitchell. So they have a much kind of a younger group within their squad. So, and I think the thing that impressed me the most actually on Sunday was like some amount of different scores. Like when you actually kind of go through it, like I counted nearly like 11 or 12 different scores in total. Like, so, you know, maybe sometimes when you look at the big names of an Adam Screeney and Charlie Mitchell, it might be very easy to think that it's all on them, but that absolutely isn't. You know, like you've Damien Kilmartin chipping away with a couple of points, Killian Coyley and the Grogan, like Connor Slevin between the sticks getting 3 points as well, Tom Spain. So a huge amount of scores all across the board. And I feel like they could, you know, it's one of them where it could be too soon still. Ballyhale have the experience, they have the know-how. If the game's in the melting pot, you would think that a team of Ballyhale who've been there and done it so many times can do it. But at the same time, look at what happened with Ballyhale last year. You know, in terms of getting knocked out. So there is the shock there. There is something in the making. Obviously, we'll see what happens. O'Loughlin Gales will have something to say about that as well. But I think if Kilcormac can get over the Kilkenny champions, then, you know, that probably does make them favourites. But probably, look, I know I predicted Ballyhale at the start, so we'll probably stick with that. But I do think Nafina are just looking a bit too strong at the minute.
It'll be very, very interesting to see how it develops. Anyway, the KK Junior, Lee, aka Mr. White, says we won't say a bad word about anyone on the other side in case Seamus gives out about it on Kilcormac Cloughy. I would never give out about Kilcormac Cloughy, and that's not just because Liam's also in Cúilín Media and could take us down from the inside. I mean, he knows all the bastards and everything. But Peter says, in fairness to Shinrone, they threw the sink and fridge at Kilcormac, but Kilcormac showed how strong they are and fully deserved it. They absolutely did, because on top of that, as you said, Matthew, their mettle was tested when Shinrone came back and asked them questions. And it's one thing to win a final when your opponents just roll over for you, but they really asked questions to Kilcormac and made them work for it. Running through the rest of the games then on Sunday, we had, obviously, I mentioned Clough winning the Laois Championship again. They beat Cam Ross by 221 to 215. In the Antrim Senior Hurling Championship final, St. John's beat Lockgill Shamrocks by the minimum 216 to a goal in 18. I think we'll stop here, lads, because I've seen a lot of people talking about this St. John's team, the journey that they've been on, and they've won the Antrim Championship. Aaron, incredible result for them.
Yeah, incredible. Like their first title, first senior title in 52 years. When you look at what they've done, like they beat Rory O'Cushnall and now they've beaten Lochiel Shamrocks. Like that's some going from a St. John's perspective to have gotten over the line. Yeah, like an incredible story, obviously from their perspective to go and do it. Oshie McManus was outstanding with 1-2. Donald Carson with a goal as well. Shay Shannon with 5 points. And yeah, kind of blows. Like I think a lot of people now would look at Slot Neil as the favourites for Ulster. There's no question, I think, in regards to that. But look, St. John's have beaten, Rory O'Cushnall. They've beaten Lochiel Shamrock. So they've beaten 2 very top teams in Antrim. So who's to say that they can't go, one step further? I know the Down champions, I know the Donegal champions are in the mix as well. But, who's to say that St. John's don't go on a bit of a push here, maybe to get to an All-Ireland semi-final or something like that. So, incredible achievement for St. John's. And no question, I'm sure the Monday Club was flying today.
I'd say absolutely was. Matthew, Aaron's put it really well there. When you look at who St. John's have beaten, Rory O'Cushnall, Lochiel Shamrocks, 2 teams that have, been hugely successful in the Antrim Championship, particularly in recent times. They've done it very much the hard way. Like to beat the champions, sometimes you have to be the champions, sometimes you have to beat the champions, and they absolutely have gone out and done that. So you'd be a brave man to write them off. But how far can they go? Because you're looking at Slot Neil, who have been super impressive in Ulster, particularly over recent times. Can they wrestle the crown off them too? And interesting enough, would the fact that Slot Neil lost the football now actually be something that is a negative towards the likes of Portaferry, the likes of St. John's? Because if Slot Neil were still going in the football, they almost have to spin too many plates.
Possibly so. And SARS did come up against Slot Neil last year. What Slot Neil really want out of the hurling, he's an All-Ireland final appearance. They've been at it for so many seasons now. And to be fair, they do have some fantastic hurlers in the team. For St. John's, yes, like Aaron mentioned all the players that perform well, but out of all of them, the only name that really jumps off the team sheet, in my eyes anyway, is Conor Johnston at centre forward. The rest of them are pretty much unknowns. So to win the championship, as you said there, beating Rory O'Cushnall and beating Lochiel Shamrocks, that probably tells you the camaraderie about the team as well. And fair play to them for that. But as Aidan mentioned in the comment there, you can't rely on Portaferry either. Portaferry really brought Slot Neil all the way in the Ulster Championship last season. But the beauty of the Ulster Championship is, lads, like you have 3 teams in it. You have St. John's, Slot Neil, probably Portaferry, Ballygalgan might have something to say about that. But you have 3 teams in it. The beauty of it is you win 2 or maybe 1 game, and you're in an All-Ireland semi-final against the Connacht champions, i.e. the Galway champions, St. Thomas's or Loughrea, and they wouldn't have had a game for over a month. So I'm telling you, like the Ulster teams, they've done it before. Like Dunloy played St. Thomas's and caught them on the hop, I remember. So like the Ulster teams, they definitely have a chance of doing it. You'd still fancy Slot Neil to do it, considering their experience and considering their know-how and considering their want in many ways. But St. John's, look at the teams that they have beat. Look at the way they've stuck together in the Antrim Hurling Championship. You can't write them off either.
Yeah, certainly can't. Peter says, I think St. John's hadn't won it in like 80 years, subject to correction there. Aaron, you said it was 82 years, you said at the start?
52 years. 52 years, yeah. That's what I'm reading here just from an article. I won't mention the publication just in case it is an incorrect fact. But yeah, no, it does say here 52 years. So
very good. The Westmeath then Senior Hurling Championship final, that's going to go to a replay between Castletown. But I just want to say, actually, before I move on, massive congratulations to St. John's. Unbelievable achievement, first title in 52 years. And now they march on into the Ulster Championship, and there's no question about it. You'd be a brave man to bet against them, given who they've beaten. And as Matthew says, the way that it's opened up in terms of the fact that, you know, they play 1, maybe 2 games, keep them ticking along nicely, and then they're into a semi-final against whoever comes out of Galway, who won't have had a game for a month. There's a path there to potentially making it to the All-Ireland final if they play their cards right. So could be a big year for whoever comes out of the Ulster Championship, be it Portaferry, be it St. John's, be it Slot Neil, or be it whoever. It'd be really interesting to see who does make it out. Moving forward then, Westmeath Senior Hurling Championship Final, Castletown against Loughlin Gales, finishing a draw 123-220, so that will go to a replay. The Leitrim Senior Football Championship Final, Leitrim Gales beat Ballinamore Sean O'Heslands by a goal and 19 to 14 points. In Carlow, Old Leckland beat Rathvilly by a goal and 11 to 13 points. Incredible win there for Old Leckland. In the London Senior Football Championship Final, North London Shamrocks beat Tyrconnell Gales by 3-7 to 13 points. And in the Wexford football semi-finals, Shell Maliers and Castletown Liam Mellows will face each other in the final. Shell Maliers beat Killenarin by 115 to 13 points, while Castletown beat Gussaran 214 to 11 points. The Tip football relegation playoff, Grange Mockler beat Killinall by 13 points to 8. The Meath hurling final saw Kiltale and Ratoath draw 319 to 416. Sligo's hurling final saw Eastkeep put 225 past Nave Owens 115 to claim the title. In the Leinster Senior LGFA preliminary quarter-final, Kilmacud Crokes beat Longford Slashers by 3-8 to 1-9, while up in Ulster, the quarter-finals of the LGFA, Errigal Kieran beat Glenfin by 210 to 110. St. Ergnitz beat Breda by 510 to 2-5. Lurgan beat Emmett Ogden by 3-6 to 110. While the Westmeath Senior LGFA final saw Milltown beat St. Lomans 111 to 19. And the Munster Intermediate LGFA quarter-final saw Moycarkey Boris beat St. Albies 4-8 to 114, while Nave Aben of Cork beat St. Anne's 318 to 15. Apologies, I realise the maths is slow. Moycarkey and St. Albies drew. They will play against each other again.
One thing is well, Seamus, it's Nave of On.
It's an hour 13.
It's usually me who gets the pronunciations wrong.
Yeah, I know, man. And that's Australia as well. I have no excuse for this. Like, literally speak to Leaf Australia, and I'm still getting that wrong. And Munster Junior LGFA quarterfinals, then St. Pat's of Waterford beat Quill Gales. Unknown scoreline. Apologies. Lads, need to log off here. One game left. Dohoney's of Cork beat Fodder Casey's of Limerick 213 218. Did I get that wrong as well?
Yeah, Donnies.
Oh, it's a great name. I'm up for them. Go on the Donnies. But yeah, we probably should wrap it up there, folks. That has been a really, really enjoyable episode. We ran through the entire weekend, and it's been a good one. Glad to be joined by Matthew Hurley, by Aaron Prendergast, and by everybody in the comments, including Liam White, of course, the final member of the show. Aidan Sands, Peter Griffin, the KK Jr., and then we have Gavin O'Reilly and Dylan Duffy, Liam Sheehy, and of course, one more. Zil Zakul, our good friend from Mexico. I can't believe I nearly forgot. And one more, Jordan Kearns. Thank you so much to everybody that threw in a comment during the show, helping us to make it a really enjoyable one. We'll be back on Thursday at 8 p.m. for a weekend preview show where we also talk about all of the latest news that might come out over the next 3 days. But until then, Torah.
Instinct, baby. Follow your instinct.